Good afternoon, everybody. It's Emma Flynn, psychologist here. It's Newcastle, Australia. I'm coming to you from, and I thought I would share a reflection, a theme that seems to be hovering around over the last week and particularly today. And I've noticed that I'm doing it quite a bit, but obviously trying to reset that. And you might be wondering what that is. Well, comparing. Comparing is an unhelpful thinking style, so we tend to compare and despair. In fact, that's the label, and that's the title of the specific type of unhelpful thinking style that it is. You might think, like me, the thought passes, what's the big deal with comparing? Well, if we do that long enough and consistently enough, particularly when we're already experiencing the uncertainty that we're experiencing at the moment and stress, it can actually add to that, and it can actually contribute to heightened anxiety, heightened depression. On a more personal level, we can experience feelings like shame, envy, and engage in criticism, self-criticism, and experience, because of all of that, a lack of self-worth. The good news is there are actually strategies that you can use to overcome that or minimize that, and I'm going to share with you 3 today. One is to take a more balanced view, so to look at what is exactly that you're comparing, what is it exactly that you're concluding, and to look at that in a more balanced way. Is it reasonable to say I should be getting up every day, I should be doing XYZ in terms of housework, work tasks, and any other chores that might come to mind, or responsibilities? So comparing how you used to operate before and what's happening internationally in terms of the COVID crisis is really unhelpful. So more so being able to look at that and say, what's reasonable, what's reasonable in terms of what I can do now, versus comparing what you've done before. It's not realistic that you would operate to that certain functional level of capacity. Secondly, to learn to actually let go of unhelpful thoughts, to learn to actually disengage from them. And lastly, self-compassion. Now, what I'm going to focus on today is I'm going to focus on the learning to challenge or let go of those thoughts, or to look at a more balanced way of thinking about any of those comparing type judgments or thoughts that you might be doing, and the feelings that come with that. So I'd like to get you to think about 4 questions when you do notice that you are doing this, and think firstly, what is the evidence for this thought? And what's the evidence against this? Secondly, am I basing this thought on facts or feelings? Thirdly, is this thought black and white when really it's more complicated? And lastly, could I be misinterpreting the evidence? Am I making any assumptions? Again, they're just 4 questions that can be really helpful in creating more of a balanced view and looking at different types of thinking and more helpful thoughts, so that you're not actually clinging on to thoughts that are unhelpful, those comparing type thoughts that won't do you any justice. What I'd like to also suggest is, when you do an exercise like that, very often, to get out of our head and to actually make an exercise like that more effective, it's a good idea to actually write those questions out on a piece of paper, or even in your computer or laptop, and to actually write that out or type out that answer, and to be able to reflect and review that exercise and your answers and what you've come up with over and over again. The more we do that, the more we reprogram how we think and what we do and how we feel. And eventually we will get to the stage, or you will get to the stage, where you're able to do that without having to do that exercise. But certainly as a starting point, you would need to do that in that way, and I recommend you do that to get the best out of that strategy. I hope that you found this little short video today helpful, and I'd be interested to hear your own experiences on comparing. And do you actually notice that you've been comparing more than you might usually do, in terms of comparing how you might have coped before COVID and how you're coping now. And also the second type of comparing others. Well, this person's doing this and they're managing to do this, I should do the same. Again, that I should be that flag to say, hey, that's an unhealthy type of thinking. I'm comparing not just to myself and how I was before, but I'm also comparing my functioning to others. If, as I said, I'd be interested again to hear your thoughts and your own experiences with this. Feel free to comment on this post, and I look forward to creating another video and sharing with that. Have a lovely weekend and make the most of that. Take care.